10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. You're listening to holistic psychotherapist Sylvia Plester-Silk. I've worked with individuals, couples, and groups from parole officer to private practice. I've learned many a lesson, and I'm ready to share. Today, I'm going to talk about a pervasive issue on social media. And I, that's shaming. There is so much shaming and blaming their wicked cousins going on the internet. And so when we shame another person, it's helpful to know what is shame. And so Brene Brown, my fellow social worker, is has done a lot of 20 years of research on shame. So let's use her definition. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love, belonging, and connection. I like to think that social media came in to create connection. And certainly it has for me in many relationships. But I watch day after day, time after time, people shaming and blaming each other. There's a difference between pointing out a behavior and calling people names or telling them they're wrong, or they're idiots, or you get the drift if you've been on social media. Recently, I replied to a comment or a question about whether or not to use Mexican pesos while in Mexico. And I said, pesos while in Mexico support Mexican. And I got a bunch of, well, I didn't need the snarky. And it was like, what? I was just suggesting that when I'm in a different country, I use that country's currency because it's an expectation. I don't think that I can take my own currency there. In any event, I chose, and I'm not proud of this, but I chose to just delete my comment. After the second person sort of started to shame me, I was like, I'm out of here. And I ran for the hills. Maybe not the most healthy, but it was like these people are strangers, and I don't want to take the time nor energy to fight back or to challenge in any way because it just was so absolute, their opinions, that I didn't sense they were open anyway. So, how often, I mean, I'm sure that I'm not the only one experiencing this in social media. I know that it's very easy in social media to just go unfriend, leave a group, do whatever. And even in groups where it's like, like respect and so on, these kinds of comments are blatant. And I think it comes from blaming. I have a little bit of a theory that during COVID, we couldn't find anybody to blame for COVID happening. And so we're still actively looking for blame. And if we want to point our fingers and say blame, there's a fair amount of stuff out there that we can do it to. And politicians are getting it in incredibly so. Some perhaps more deserving than others of it, in my humble opinion. And you might differ from my opinion, and you have every right to. So, how do we go through life sharing our opinion? And when somebody attacks us as human beings for doing a behavior that they think is unacceptable, how do we work through it personally? So, number one with me, the old feeling nag here comes in. What's the feeling that comes up? So is it embarrassment, shame? It might be feeling like you want to crawl into a hole and disappear, aka shame. You might get taken into that place of, I am wrong, I am unlovable, something's wrong about me, is how I've often thought about blame or shame, sorry. Well, number one, notice the feeling, name the feeling. Number two, shame really is like a mold or fungus that in the dark grows and grows and grows. And so often we need to share with a safe person that will hold space for us and not shame us again that something's happened and it's been upsetting for us. Then what you can do after that is some energy techniques. And I'm going to share one with you today that I haven't shared with you before. So once you get fully in touch with the emotion of shame, or the state of shame is how I tend to think of it more than an emotion, I want you to just feel it in your body. Just get present in your body and just notice where it's coming from. And then what you can do is ask your highest self to have a cyclone or a whirlpool of energy come and clear that out of your system and have that imbalanced energy. Imagine that cyclone clearing out from you and moving across a field, harm done to none, until it disappears on the horizon. And then once that's released from you, what you can do is again ask your higher self to just help you by bringing in golden white light. So bringing in beautiful, loving white light in through the crown of your head, in through and around your body. And you can see that filling up any voids or taking away any other little pieces of, I call emotional shrapnel, often when I'm doing the work, to just release all those pieces and having that energy of that beautiful golden white light going all the way down your feet, filling up your entire energy field so that you can release and hold that balance, if you will. A couple of things that are really important in this process. One is actually taking the time to feel it. I've had clients that go, okay, there's a feeling, I've got to throw it away. No, there is a reason that you have it. And it's not that I want you to sit and blame and shame for, a day. However, when we learn that we can actually tolerate an emotion, that we can be with an emotion, and when we name an emotion and acknowledge it, it actually in the moment gets a little bit more manageable because it's being heard. You're not trying to push it away. You're not trying to negate it. You're honoring it and respecting it and honoring yourself and respecting yourself in that process. So when you send it away as a cyclone, then it's energy that is no longer required because you've acknowledged X happened. I felt Y. And you've come into that place of awareness and acceptance to some degree. So then you can say, okay, I've now processed this emotion and I can let it go. And you can use that process, the cyclone, for any emotion. But again, make sure that you feel it before you release it. Because one of the big challenges with shame is that we'll isolate ourselves. So if there's something wrong with me and I feel unlovable, I'm going to pull out and pull away and maybe not go back to that social media group to comment again. Or I'm going to pull away. Maybe I get invited out for friends and I'm feeling inadequate. And so I'll be like, oh no, I can't make it. And what we need to do during those times is to move into connection and to challenge that internal thing that makes us shrink in shame and come up to no, we are good people. We maybe made a mistake and come into that place of self-acceptance that we are worthy despite what behavior we've done. And we can own it and we can take responsibility and accountability, but we don't have to stay stuck in the shame and blame game. So this week, I encourage you, when you witness the shaming, you might want to just pull away from it. You might want to name it. And you may choose not to, and that's okay too, because it's very palpable and uncomfortable to be in shame. So go gently with yourself, lots and lots of love and self-compassion to yourself as you're doing this. But you will start to notice, now that we've had this conversation, you're going to start to notice the shame game playing out. And you can recommend people listen to 10 Minutes to Joy so that they can hear about shame, and they can also learn how they can honor themselves through some really difficult stuff. So remember, beneath the noise of overthinking, your body knows exactly what you need to heal and thrive, exactly what you're feeling. So listen deeply, breathe softly, and let your innate intelligence lead the way. Until next Friday.